Xcelerator at Knott's Berry Farm is a fan favorite and has been an iconic piece of the Buena Park skyline since it opened in 2002. Unfortunately, it's been closed since March due to yet another mechanical issue. According to sources, the launch system has a faulty cable winch drum that needs a full replacement. Rumors had been swirling around for some time that this could be the last straw and the coaster could very well be on the chopping block. With that said, only weeks prior to the closure, Xcelerator had just reopened from a much-needed paint job. Its first full repaint in 20 years. It's difficult to imagine that Knott's would spend so much money to finally repaint the coaster if the thought of removal was in the picture. So it seems pretty unlikely that they're going to pull the plug altogether. Then again, a bunch of coasters at Six Flags Astroworld were repainted a year before the entire park was removed. So there's that. But the fact that it took this long to get a new coat of paint has us thinking that perhaps the park has been on the fence for some time about keeping the ride. I mean, why repaint a ride if you're just going to remove it? Rumors also went on to say that Cedar Fair was going to decide between keeping Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point or Accelerator. And if that rumor proved to be true, then we definitely have our answer with Cedar Point's announcement that Top Thrill Dragster will be retired as we know it. Which most likely means that, at a minimum, the hydraulic launch system will be removed. Meaning that Knott's Berry Farm should have a plentiful supply of parts so they can keep Xcelerator operating for many more years to come. Though I'm not quite sure how many parts are compatible. Xcelerator, being the prototype, could very well have parts that were unique to it and it alone. Sources claim that prior to the ride closing for repair, the winch drum was on its last leg, which is why Accelerator was operating on weekends only. Based on that information, we're guessing the decision to keep the coaster was already made prior to it going down completely. It's quite likely the part was already ordered and the park was just doing everything they could to keep it running until the part was received. That way they can minimize the downtime. But as luck would have it, parts from the manufacturer, Intamin, have been on back order. Word is that a new part had to be manufactured specifically for Xcelerator. That is, it wasn't something that Intamin can just pull off the shelf. On top of that, industries worldwide are dealing with supply chain issues. Unless Knott's ordered from Wish or something. Just a couple weeks ago, we were happily surprised to see that noticeable work had resumed. It's quite possible Knott's has received the necessary parts, or at least knows that they will be receiving them soon. We visited Knott's earlier this week to see the progress being made, and taking another look into the station, even more is ripped up. It's so weird seeing it like this. Behind the station, the red train is on the track and looking rather fresh. This is a really good sign. On the ground is the purple train in pieces, which isn't that all uncommon to see, because two-train operation isn't that much faster, and so they usually just have one train out for refurbishment. I can't remember the last time I saw two trains cycling. Anyway, what's really crazy to think about is how this repair is taking longer than it took to build the coaster initially. Accelerator went vertical in March of 2002 and opened to the public in June. But somehow, after closing in March of this year for repair, we're now in the middle of September and it still isn't open.
Well, we're waiting.
But even if the park does get Accelerator operating again, which looks like they're going to do, we still can't help but wonder how much longer it has at the park, at least in its current form. Perhaps in the future, we will see an LSM upgrade, which has been Intamin's choice of launch system for some time now. Of course, there's the historical significance of Accelerator being the first hydraulically launched coaster. But that didn't stop Knott from keeping the first flywheel launch coaster, Montezuma's Revenge. With that said, they did keep the system going for a very impressive 44 years. It's also rather plausible that Knott will eventually get fed up with Accelerator altogether and put something new in its place. And while it might seem crazy to remove a coaster as popular as Accelerator, they've saddened fans of a popular ride before. Most notably with the removal of Soapbox Racers, which stood on that same plot of land for 20 years as well. But it's hard to think of a replacement that would not only fit in Xcelerator's rather small footprint, but that would have a thrill level equal or higher. With all that said, we think that Xcelerator in its current form will be around for quite some time. And if any changes are made in the future, it'll be in the form of changing the hydraulic launch to an LSM launch. Pretty much like how they're upgrading Montezuma's Revenge to LSMs. Another example is when they did a full retrack of Ghost Rider. Knott knows that Accelerator is a very important and popular piece of their coaster lineup, so they're going to keep it around as long as possible. It would be really weird to see the boardwalk without it. But we want to know what your take is. Are these current repairs a short-term solution to a bigger problem? Could we eventually see Accelerator being upgraded to an LSM launch, or will it continue to live as a hydraulically launched coaster for many more years to come? Perhaps it'll go away altogether at some point in the future. I mean, they gotta put that Giga somewhere, right? Drop a comment below and let us know what you think the future holds for Xcelerator. And as always, thank you for watching.